Go. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
We are live at Inclusivity, and my name is Tommy. I am a prevention and sexual health educator at Metro Inclusive Health.
My name is Pablo, and I am also prevention sexual health specialist at Metro Inclusive Health.
I'm Venus D-Lite. I'm a special guest today, and I am a former Rupaul's Drag Race contestant. I'm the number one Madonna impersonator as quoted by numerous media outlets and publications. And also, I just recently came out as HIV positive. So I believe that's why we're here today. We're here to talk about some tea, about anti-education, about the situation, because I'm happy. I'm happy to be out. It's like such a relief to finally be out.
And we're so thankful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me here. Thank you so much. I'm happy Halloween, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Early Halloween.
I love this. I love it. Oh, this is my costume. I'm a boy. I'm Maluma today, so that's my costume.
No, I told you, I was like, yeah, you can come as Venus, you can come as Adam, whichever one you want, because I know getting in drag can be a lot. But not a sight for sore eyes as a boy today, so thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. So thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
So we're here at Inclusivity, which is a tea shop, adult store, clinic all in one. Kind of the purpose of this is to demystify talks about sexual health. But we're going to talk about a lot of different topics, and we just want to have a little bit of fun and do some education stuff.
Yeah. And speaking about fun, I want to go ahead and get us into a game, if that's okay. Can we do a game real quick?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it. So this is going to be an either or. So this is a speed round game. And I'm going to ask you an either or question. You're just going to have to quickly answer either or. And we're all going to do it together too. So, all right. So, rough or tender?
Tender.
Rough.
I'd say tender.
Okay.
Pink or purple?
Pink.
Purple.
I'd say pink too. Pink is really cute.
I'm the odd one out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm full pink right now.
How could you tell, right?
I'm in blush and bashful right now, so I'd take pink or tinker.
Romantic or funny?
Both.
It's either or.
Funny.
Either or.
Yeah.
Funny.
Funny.
Funny? I would say funny too.
Funny.
I'm not really one for cheesy things. Peach or eggplant?
Eggplant.
I like peaches.
I love a good peach. I'm gonna go with peach too.
Wait, to eat or the emoji or what? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait, as
Whatever.
Eggplant. Yeah. I need more eggplant.
Eggplant.
Okay.
Across the board.
Okay.
Soft or hard?
Hard.
Soft. Why not?
Soft. I'm gonna go with hard too. Ooh, blindfolded or restrained?
Blindfolded.
Restrained.
I'm gonna say restrained as well. Spit or swallow?
Swallow.
Swallow.
I'm a spit.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the second round, and I'm gonna take it quicker. So just off the cuff. So nerd or jock?
Nerd.
Nerd.
Yeah, nerd. Cut, uncut.
Uncut.
Cut.
Uncut. Ribbed or flavored?
Flavor.
Yeah, let's say flavor. Yeah.
Ribbed. Clothes, no clothes.
No clothes.
I'm a huge fashion person, so close.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Virgo, so we tend to like walk around everywhere with no clothes. We have like this no shame in our bodies. It's a Virgo thing. I don't know what it is.
Okay. No clothes. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
I'll take this off right now.
I'll get cold. That's the after show. Foreplay, afterplay.
Foreplay.
Afterplay.
I'm a believer in stretching. I like foreplay. I think that's a good one.
Mm.
Leather, satin.
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 Yeah.
That one's a hard one though. I really want to go with leather too, but
Mhm.
it's a 60-40 for me.
Last one, smooth or furry?
Furry.
Smooth.
Furry? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Now we got that out of our system.
But was the satin or the leather, was that sexualized or was it just, because I'm thinking like satin sheets are like leather and bondage, so.
However you want to take that.
Yeah.
I like satin sheets.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's still in now, but I'm a child of the 80s and my parents had satin sheets.
Mhm.
So
That
I
sounds really cute.
love like just jumping on their bed and laying in it. Felt so soft.
I mean, if we're just talking day to
I mean,
day,
if I
definitely
only,
satin.
I was a child, so I like to keep my innocent thoughts of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that then.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about Metro's mission and what we do on a daily and what our sort of goal is in the long run. And then we can go into some more of like the interview questions and just go from there. So Metro is part of a national strategy called Ending the HIV Epidemic. We work alongside community partners to help connect people to services, testing, preventative measures, and we try to do this through creative means. So that's the reason that we're doing this. This is one of those creative ways that we're trying to sort of get the message out there about ending HIV in the United States. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and as part of having these conversations, we want to use this podcast to really bring these cute and very important conversations to you guys raw and uncut. So without further ado, we're going to ask some questions. That's okay? Sweet. Yep, so you recently moved here from LA to Tampa. So how has Florida been treating you so far?
Florida's been really good to me. The first time I came here was in 2011, and I performed in Tampa at that time. And this was at the old Hamburger Mary's, which is actually down the street from here. It's not there anymore. But I've always had it's always been an adventure here. Always been an adventure. Just from, when I first came here, it was an 11-day adventure. We went from Orlando to Miami to Fort Lauderdale and then back to Orlando and to Tampa. So it was such an adventure. And then I came back and I was here for a month. And then I kept coming back and forth whenever Wilton Managed Pride happened. And then I was actually going to move here 3 years ago. And that didn't happen. But I don't know, it's always been on the cards for me to come here at some point. And so I love it. I remember the first time I saw an alligator here. And it looked like one of my exes. So.
Where'd you see the alligator?
It was my, so my first trip to Florida, I came from Atlanta to Orlando, and it was on a 6 a.m. bus. And so I got on the bus, and I was the only one on there. So I took a nap. I woke up, and the bus was starting to heat up. The weather obviously was changing, and I look out the window and I see it's Jurassic Park, and I'm like, oh, wow, they really are huge.
And when you said on the bus, I was like, wait, the gator was on the bus? That's crazy. That's the Florida thing that I couldn't get behind.
I looked at it and I'm like, oh shit, they do exist. Wow. Because we don't have alligators in California. I think.
There's a lot of scary things in California.
There's a lot of scary things in California. We have.
I feel like all the plants try to kill you. There's a lot of cactuses and stuff that you could find that you wouldn't find in Florida.
Or a mountain of trash somewhere. Trash everywhere. When I went to LA. I love LA though, shout out to LA. But no, it was a lot there. In a good way. It was overwhelming in a great way. I loved it.
And LA is it's such a city, and it's such city life. Here it's, more tropical, more a lot more rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot more rain and a lot more I would say a lot more beach living. We do. I mean, the beaches aren't as nice in California as they are here. Yeah, so there's definitely like a more of like if you go to New York, you want to like be fashionable and nice, and because you're out there presenting yourself. And California, you're driving your work, so you want to present yourself in a nice car. Here in Florida, it's all about kind of like body image and looking good at the beach, and or hanging out with your friends.
Yeah, and the water's freezing in California, so yeah.
Yeah.
You actually can't even swim in it. But
No.
over here we have our bath water. We'll stick with it. We like it. It's nice.
No surfing though. No surfing.
No surfing, but you can actually get in the water.
So what brought you and connected you to? How did you get involved in Metro? Like, tell me a little bit about.
Well, I had been. I was diagnosed in 2015, and I wanted to. It had been in the back of my mind to open up and to do awareness about about the HIV epidemic and prevention and education, because my whole journey through this has been an interesting one, and I feel that had there been more stories like mine, this would help out a lot more people. So I was just waiting for the right time to do it. And then when I came to Florida, it just, it made so much more sense to me that this is the right time.
Okay.
And the last chapter I had with my journey, I think it was kind of like the icing on the cake too. And the last lesson I needed to learn before I actually came and started being an advocate and telling my story and hopefully inspiring people to, basically how to be living with HIV and not feel like, you're ashamed about it.
I mean, HIV can be scary. HIV can be a lot to handle for people that are just learning about their status. But also, I mean, people are thriving, and it's important to know that we can do it. We'll get there together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask, so for our listeners, what is something fun you want our listeners to know about you, or something that you're uniquely good at?
I'm uniquely good at. Wow.
I mean, that's amazing. We saw you perform here a couple of weeks
Other
ago.
than Madonna, I love to cook. I have a great knowledge of 70s, 80s, 90s disco, house, soul.
Yes, and I can vouch for all
music. What else? I love. I'm a good bartender. I love making cocktails, but like very crafted cocktails, I guess you can say. What else do I like to do? I love to go dance. I'm a very social person outside of my house, and I love traveling. I've traveled quite a bit, so I kind of. And I've been told I'm a good storyteller. So, I guess those are the fun things about me. I do actually like to socialize. I think that's probably like one of the things that the funnest things about me. I love socializing.
No, it's definitely a strength of yours. I can say that. And your cooking, you're an amazing chef. I've had your cooking, and it's
My
amazing.
boyfriend wants to send me to culinary. I don't know about that. Oh boy, because I don't want to go to vet school. So I'm like, can't even afford it.
If you can afford it, send me to
If you can afford it,
yeah.
send me to Florida somewhere, because I don't want to just, I just, just cooking, I just discovered it's so important what you actually give yourself. And I think it's such a gift to give that to yourself. And also I think that's just development, as you get older, you want to give. I think you should give the best to yourself, whether it's, romance, food, sex, knowledge. I think you should take your time to really immerse yourself in the best of all those.
Yeah.
And so I totally feel like with good food, you feel better, you look better, you just I think I'm not a fan of processed food. I try to avoid it now as much as I can. Only because I don't know. I noticed that it sends different signals to the brain, and also another thing that comes up with people living with HIV is that there is a vulnerability to depression, and I think it's also what got me into cooking was that when you're in depression you have low dopamine levels, and a lot of people, including myself, who've had history with drug abuse and who have kind of compromised their dopamine, healthy dopamine in and out levels. Food does actually send dopamine to your brain, and so I think also that kind of inspired. I did get inspiration from that because it's a healthier choice than to do drugs and to or to have addictions to alcohol or bad addictions. I think if you're going to give yourself a great natural higher dopamine rush, I think you should definitely invest in your cooking. It might be $10 more in your grocery bill, but it's a lot of people don't want to go organic because I can't spend the $1 or $2 more, but I think it does. It's definitely a gift to yourself that you should give.
People do like cooking, or they go running, or they take up like a new hobby, like singing or acting, modeling, things like that.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that goes back to what you're saying before, like giving back to yourself and taking care of yourself. So I agree with that. It's important. I've been getting more into cooking as I get older too.
Oh yeah.
I now have a roommate that I cook with too. So it's.
What's your favorite thing to cook, or would you just?
What's my favorite thing to cook? We cook a lot of pasta just because it's the easiest thing to find ingredients for. So I've gotten better at making a good pasta sauce, like a red sauce.
Oh, okay, good.
But I don't know. But there's lots of good tasty things.
Have you made your own marinara sauce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I usually, we have some recipes that we'll do, like wine sauce, stuff like that. But.
I made my own Alfredo the other night, my own Alfredo sauce. Amazing. The second time around. The first time I butchered it. It was so bad. But the second time, great. It was awesome. First time it was just too much salt.
My roommate usually does the cheese sauces. Like anything that has creamy or something like that, she's usually the one that does those.
So I'm not gonna lie. So I did go to Sprouts for dinner.
You went to what?
I went to
Sprouts.
Because I moved here and I wanted to take all my spices with me all the way from California. And then I came here. I'm like, a lot of these need to be thrown away. They're expired.
Yeah.
And I learned so much more about the benefits of going organic, and I went and got all these organic spices, and tonight after this I'm going home and clearing out everything. Yes. Also, what was a big inspiration to me going organic was being with my boyfriend now. He had gained a lot of weight, and he has alopecia, so he had lost some hair and he had acne. And so I switched him to an organic diet, and he lost the weight. Gradually, his acne went away, and his hair started to grow back.
Nice.
So could also be a number of other things, just like being around, having more happy emotions and more sex. I don't know, but I'll say I do think throwing the good food in there did definitely add to it.
Okay. I wanted to change the direction a little bit, but whatever you're comfortable talking about. So we do testing on a daily. So we do HIV testing, rapid, blood draws, whatever. There's a lot of different things that we do related to STD and HIV testing. So I wanted to sort of ask you a little bit more about that, if you're comfortable.
Sure.
What your experience was testing and learning about your status.
Mm-hmm. Well, the testing part was it was an interesting night. It was on a whim. If you don't know what a whim is, it was just like a random thought to go, because I was already I had just done a show. I was about to go on tour. Florida was probably the main stop. This was in 2015, and I was out with my manager, and we roundabout, like celebrating and cocktailing, and then we were walking down Santa Monica Boulevard. We were walking down Santa Monica Boulevard, bar hopping, and there was an HIV testing truck, and I went to go get tested. I think that their cocktail was definitely kicking in, so I was like a little, I wouldn't say adventurous, no inhibitions, just like relaxed and like, okay, let's do this. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? I wasn't thinking anything was going to happen, so I went and I got tested, and they told me I was positive, and I didn't know how to react at that moment. And the reason I couldn't react was because I was in full drag, and a lot of people know me from RuPaul's Drag Race. So there was a line outside, and they all saw me go in there. So I couldn't really get into my emotions because I wasn't ready to come out there and just start crying and bawling and having all the support group. And because I didn't know if it was true or it was not. So I didn't know how to react, and I just blocked everything. So got out, passed the line, said everything was fine, went to my manager, said, hey, we need to go to the car and let's talk about a couple things. And we talked. I went to go get retested about a week later, still came out positive. Immediately, the state took me into their care, put me on the Ryan White program. The scariest part of all that was that the first doctor who was seeing me, he said that I need to get you in here immediately. We need to talk. And just the tone of his voice was very nervous and very just like, it made me uneasy. And I asked him, I said, what's going on? You sound uneasy and you want to rush me in there. What's going on? And he said, well, I'd rather discuss this. I told him, no, you've already now making me uneasy, so we need to talk. And he said, your white blood cell count's very low, and we need to get you in here immediately. So they put me in the appointment for the next day, and I went to go see them, and at first they discussed it outside, and then they told me in person, and I could hear them outside speaking that I was at 162 with my white blood cells. So I was on the borderline, pretty much almost at AIDS level. And this is when the doctor told me this. So it was very, very scary. And, I really hadn't at that point met a lot of people who have HIV or were living with it or just weren't comfortable talking to me about it. So I didn't really have any education. I didn't know how fast the medicine worked. But it did work very fast. So, but when you're like, they're telling you you're 2 white blood cells away from AIDS level, you go a lot emotionally. Yeah. And it took some time for that to go away. And but the medication worked immediately, and I was starting to get better. And but it did create a couple of problems. Okay. So the medication, which we can get into. Okay.
Well, before we move on too, so for those that are watching, we're trying to talk about education. So it is important for me to sort of discuss what does it mean to have AIDS. So for those that come in and get testing, get viral load, CD4 count, what the below 200 CD4 cells is sometimes what is considered when someone is diagnosed with AIDS. But it is something that comes from HIV. And again, we're talking about undetectable. We're talking about how long it took for the medication to take. And so it is important to know that there is medication to try and get that viral load back down and get your CD4 count back up. And that's sort of what that's what we're talking about too. So yeah, I don't know. Pablo, if you have anything else you'd like to follow up with that.
I think you kind of wrapped it up in a nice bow with that one. Yeah, got me right there. You got me right there.
So how long did it take you to really deal with those emotions afterwards too? Because you said you like pushed it off and you weren't able to.
See, this was 2015. I think there has been a lot more awareness now, because back then versus now. Back then, I would say, yeah, because I was actually dating somebody when I was first diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
So they got tested, nothing came up, but they jumped out of the relationship pretty fast. And then if I try to sleep with somebody and I try to explain that to them, there was one guy who just flipped out, and he spent the night at my house to take him to a doctor because we were, there was no penetration or anything, but he just thought if some kind of smidgen of a body fluid came near his skin, he just wasn't educated. So there was a long period of that. And then I wasn't telling anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got a boyfriend, and then I did tell him, and he said it was fine, but then we weren't having sex. And then anytime he wanted to have sex, he was usually to be in a threesome. And that was probably, I just felt like, okay, you're just not comfortable having sex with me because I'm positive, but you just don't know how to, have that serious conversation and surrender and face the outcome of that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which was very selfish of him. And so it did take a long time, because and then it got to the point where I actually got with somebody who was also positive. I didn't marry them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things why I married them was because he was positive.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, was I in love? Yes, but I didn't, after going through all that, I learned after all that experience that I didn't need to go through all that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to be afraid of who I was or who was ashamed of who I was. I think people make a choice of where they want to go with in life, and they choose the food they want to eat. They choose the friends they want. But I think it's also a choice to be uneducated.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that's going on in the world now, and this is a big part of the LGBTQ community and, the rest of the world, I think it's a choice not to be educated. And I think that if we're going to I think we've come a long way, but I think we're going to get any further. I think we need to get people to choose that they need to be educated, because ignorance is such a huge blow to this epidemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that you were saying that I feel like I've heard a lot in people's stories is talking about how they have to explain it to everyone. They have to be the one to educate their partners. And that can be really tough, to be the one that has to do that for someone else, to tell them everything. And I remember when I was first going on apps and things, and I talked to someone who was positive, and I didn't know what to do. And so I forced all these questions on him. He's like, no, I don't need to deal with this. There's other people. I don't want to worry about this. But it is important to know, you're worth it. You're worth someone that's going to put in the work and do the education, do the work on their own to find out way more too.
And you mentioned a lot of difficulties that you went through with relationships and marriage and just dating people in general. What were some things that made it easier, or what were some things or some tips and tricks that you found that made disclosing easier, or just having these conversations with people easier?
I would say, well, definitely feeling more comfortable with myself. I wouldn't say I wouldn't, I don't take it as rejection. At some point I didn't take it as rejection anymore. I just felt that they're not educated. If they want to, like I said, it's a choice. If you want to be educated, you could have chose before me, during me, after me, it's your choice. But I didn't feel rejected at all or anything. So I just shrugged it off. And, actually after when I did separate from my husband, I did find it a lot easier to actually meet people, conversate with people. I didn't have to go through when I first came out, it was kind of like what you said. Like I had to go through all these questions about how did you get it? Who do you think you got it from? Do you feel all these emotions connected with that person you got it from? I'm just like, that's not even on my mind. Like I don't think about these things, and I don't know why you're asking me about these things. But with it was just. Now it's been like, I think a lot of people have educated themselves, and I've run into more people who are educated. So there is progress. There is a light. So,
and I think people coming out with their stories is really important.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen lots of people very well-known people like Jonathan Van Ness, who talks about his status. And I think having those people that you can see in the media that are willing to talk about it, are willing to talk about their experience, it's important for those learning about their status and coming out to see that and know that, like, this is something that people are dealing with. This is not something I'm not alone here. And this is something that, like, I can like thrive with.
Was the test that you received your positive result in the testing van, was that your first HIV test ever?
No.
When was the first time? And what was that experience like?
The first time was, I would say when I was a teenager. I would say probably I was 17. 17. I came out at 15. I was so highly sexual. So I
don't get no breaks.
I had to make sure, and then I got into a very serious 11-year relationship after that, and there was no testing. And then after that, I did test a couple of times before I did get the positive test. So they were pretty easy. It's always scary to get them, but I think it is. I think it's essential. I think everybody should be tested. Anybody sexually active should be tested.
Oh, yeah.
And it can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is a responsibility. It is a responsibility, especially for adults, to go and get tested and to be sure, because it is still around, and it's still something that we need to not be afraid of, and we can live normal lives with it.
Yeah, and I think people tend to forget too that sexual health is a part of your overall health as well. I think it's also stemming from that taboo that we have around sex and just HIV in general. So people just are so afraid of it. It's so weird.
Well, I think they're afraid of it because I think people they're still people being ashamed, people being ashamed of feeling like, I think everybody wants to be loved. And I think when you do have what people can say is out of words, but I think when you present something when you present something to somebody that could possibly lead to rejection, it is scary. And I think that, and also, it's also a self-emotional thing to go through to, hey, why did I get this? Why did I deserve this? Some people do that. I didn't do that, but it is life-changing. But I think more, we need to spread more awareness that this is not the end.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing here. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't have too many more questions. I do have one thing. We do have one thing that we want to end with, but maybe I'll pour some tea if you have any other things that you want to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm actually cool if we want to go ahead and do the just the tip.
Just the tip?
Yeah, if you want to pour it, yes, pour it up.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna pour some tea. So before we leave,
I did want to say, through this whole journey with everything, I think the biggest message I can give to everybody is that this is not
so pretty.
This definitely doesn't put you in a classification as an outsider, as a non-normal person, as an unhealthy person, as a non-responsible person. This can happen to anybody at, at any age, at any time in your life. I think the most responsible thing to do is to keep checking yourself, to give yourself that gift to be healthy, to keep continuing life, and to give yourself the life that you deserve. Like I said, people choose to not be educated, and that's their choice. But I think it is an adult responsibility to be educated. I would say with all this, I've been through dating problems, relationship problems, marriage problems, but I would say the biggest problem that I had was just not being able to accept it, look myself in the mirror and realize that I'm still the same person that I always was.
Mm-hmm.
And is everybody going to like me for me? No. And I think that just goes for everybody else. But I think if you like who you are and are able to say yes and politely say no, it does go a long way. And that is the gift you can give yourself. I think that's the best gift you can give yourself, is to get tested too, actually.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
To get tested.
Let's go.
Right? Thanks, Tyler, for the passion fruit tea. Do you want to take it?
So, before we leave, we wanted to just do one final segment to close this out. So, just the tip. We're each going to give one tip for better, safer sex, whatever that means. I'm still thinking of mine, so go ahead.
So my tip would be spit is not lube. And don't let anybody ever tell you that, because spit is not lube. You're going, don't look at me like that. I feel like
sorry, I didn't realize I had a face on.
You had a face on. I think you need to be using like a water-based lube or a silicone lube. Do not use butter, because that isn't a lube. Do not use foods. Use water or a silicone-based lube. Spit is not lube. That's my tip for the day.
No.
Maybe if you mix it with some stuff, but just don't use just spit.
Well, don't mix different types of lube, but
like spit and maybe something else?
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say probably the best. I mean, for me, I would say the best sex tip would be, so many.
Just one.
Just
one.
You can flip through all the memories.
Just one. I would say try to be verse.
Try to be
So
verse. Try to be verse. Be versatile and adaptable in many sexual situations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
In any and every situation.
Right.
Yes.
I think it opens the door. I think it opens up more doors, and it opens more doors for pleasure, and on both ends, both parties, and also there's so much more to do. Because I think people you get into a relationship and then you want to have sex all the time, and then all of a sudden it kind of
Fizzles out.
it fizzles out a little bit. I think definitely to keep it exciting. I think opening up on the sexual spectrum, in a relationship or with your sexual partners, I think it can open other doors, and I think communication also helps.
Yeah. Don't close yourself off. Just be open to
No,
learning.
absolutely not. No.
Like that. I think my tip would be sort of along with yours. Just sort of, so lube is important to make sure everything is going smooth. I think that foreplay and taking the time to take care of each other, whatever that means for you. If it means a lot of oral sex, that's great. But foreplay can be really important too. In my mind, it can be an important tool for safer sex to make sure you are less stressed, less tight, and that can help make less friction happen, and that can help make things a bit more fun. That's what my tip is. Take your time when you're starting.
Yes, please do. And we will be here again on the 4th Friday of the month in November.
I have one more.
Yes, go for it.
I would. I think we've all had just the most spontaneous, just no inhibitions, alcoholic sex possible. My tip is, I would say, from the club, definitely take an Uber. If it's a wine and dine night, turn off your phone.
You don't want to drunk dial somebody.
Turn off your phone. Because, I mean, we have Messenger now just like that rings and rings and rings and rings. And it's such a buzzkill. And, like, I mean, it's already
Put it in another room. Don't
yeah,
worry.
everybody's so attached to their phones. I mean, but, like, for great sex, turn off your fucking phone.
Yeah, 'cause it helps with connection.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Oh,
So we're going to be here the 4th Friday of November. We're going to be shooting live here at Inclusivity. So if you'd like to sit down and be in the audience and listen to us talk live, you could do that. If you want to just hang out here and do some homework or look at some dildos, drink some coffee and tea, we are open here from Tuesday through Saturday, Tuesday through Thursday from 12 to 9, and Friday and Saturday from 12 to 10. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for coming.
Bye, everybody. Happy Friday. Be safe. Get tested.